Studio One has been a very popular program, and we receive huge response from the listeners across the globe who would like to listen to such programs. We invite people of eminence from different walks of life, particularly trying to project Indian culture, heritage, music, in all its manifestation, bring them here to the studios, interview them, have an interaction with them, and then broadcast it to the world through our various services. The General Overseas Service of All India Radio, which is the English language broadcast, we broadcast in that.
Prem Rawat, we welcome you to Studio One, and I must tell you that there would be listeners as well as viewers, as Doordarshan is covering this program too. And we would like our viewers to know from you that your journey from a 13-year-old one who went to all across the globe to this level, how do you feel differently talking about peace now than when you were 13 years, or the same magic is continuing?
Oh, it's absolutely the same magic, and I would like to thank you and thank your audience that they have given me this time. But I was just recently doing an interview in Spain, and I was asked about the different decades that happened in the 50s. And I said, well, I can't really tell you much about the 50s. I was born in late 50s. But I said, for me, it's not about decades. It's really one continuous thing. You're born, you live, and one day you go. And every day, somehow, it is what you do. Your little struggle, your little drama, your little things. You try to learn from them, you try to apply them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. And it's this continuous effort, and it goes on till the very end. So for me, at 13 years of age, leaving and going to the West, it was just an experiment. I wanted to know if the people in the West would be open to this message. I had started speaking about peace when I was 4 years old. So, will people be interested? In India, people are poor, and they have generous hearts, and they may aspire for peace more than all those other countries where people are really rich. But amazing thing was that everybody aspired for peace, for the message of peace, whether they were rich, whether they were poor, whatever their situation was. And when I arrived, there was the big war, the demonstrations were going on in America, the anti-war Vietnam demonstrations. And in the midst of it, people really wanted to hear about peace. When I was in England, I also got the opportunity to go to the Woodstock Festival.
The music festival.
The music festival. And if, like they say, God willing, maybe I'll be going there again next year, because they're not having it this year, but they'll be having it next year. And it was a different world, but the message was the same. And the message always has been that peace is inside of you. What you are looking for is inside of you. But to understand that, you have to know yourself.
That means the central idea for what peace is and how it can be attained was crystal clear to you when you were 4 years old?
Yes.
And did it get crystallized further as you have reached this part of your life?
Well, since the message is so simple, what you're looking for is inside of you. That's it. And that's what it has stayed.
Has the way you present your concept of peace and how to attain peace changed over years, or has it more or less remained the same? The people keep changing faces.
Amazing thing is, when I was very young, I was always fascinated by stories.
Okay.
So I could not get enough of stories. So when I started speaking, I would tell a lot of examples, and I would tell a lot of stories.
Yes, I've read your book. That also is based on stories.
Exactly, and this is exactly what I do today. I still tell stories because it's a great way to communicate to people a very profound message in a very simple way.
Splitting the Arrow, Business of Life, your latest book, published in Japan. And why did you choose the title Splitting the Arrow?
Because there's that story involved with it. And the story goes, and I'll tell it briefly. The way the story goes is there is a man, and he goes from village to village, and he demonstrates what he has practiced. And he's really, really good at showing people, demonstrating to people, how he's an incredible marksman. So he shoots one arrow, hits the bullseye, shoots the next arrow, and he splits the first arrow. That's how good he is. And one day, as he's going around, in his demonstration, all the villagers have gathered, and he shoots the arrow, and then he splits that arrow, and everybody applauds. And he's very proud of himself. I mean, this is something he can do and nobody else can do. And he hears a voice from the back. It's only a matter of practice. This really irks him. What do you mean it's a matter of practice? He says to himself. I'm good at this. I'm natural. I'm born for this. Shoots it again. Everybody claps. The voice comes back. It's only a matter of practice. So after his demonstration is over, he goes looking for this guy. He finds an oil salesman, old style oil salesman, big bamboo, 2 clay pots of oil, and a bunch of bottles. He goes over to him and he says, "Are you the man who keeps saying it's only a matter of practice?" He goes, "Yes, I am." He says, "What do you mean? Didn't you see how good I am?" He said, "Yeah, but it's only a matter of practice." He goes, "I still don't understand. Why aren't you acknowledging me?" He says, "Let me show you something." So he takes a bottle, empty bottle, narrow neck. In the old days, the coins used to have a hole in them. He puts that coin on top of the bottle. He picks up the big clay pot full of oil. He starts pouring the oil, and without spilling a drop, without touching the coin, he fills the bottle with the oil. He looks to the marksman and he says, "Now you do it." He goes, "I can't." He says, "I can't shoot arrow like you because I haven't practiced that. And you can't pour oil like me because you haven't practiced that. But this I practice every day." So after I tell this story, my simple question to people is, what do you practice? Because whatever you practice, you will become good at. So my question is, how long does it take you to get angry? So you must practice that because you're good at it. How long does it take you to judge a person? Instant, right? So you must practice that. And how long does it take you to come to a conclusive conclusion of what peace is in your life?
Peace is something that is still within you.
Is within you. And the issue isn't whether you practice peace or not. The issue is whatever you practice, you will become good at. So if in your life you take the opportunity of practicing peace you will also become good at it. Of being kind, you will also become good at it. Of becoming gentle, you will also become good at it. Of caring, you will also become good at it. How many of us experience confrontational problems in our family? Every day?
Yeah.
Because everybody has gotten good at it. And so as soon as the first sight of everyone where they can see each other, confrontation begins. What if that family started to practice caring? What if that family started to practice sharing? What if that family started to practice listening? Would we not get good at it? What is the problem in this world today? Who listens to whom? There is the traffic police. Who's listening to them? And they're not listening to anyone. People are driving wherever they want to go. And so, in the family too, do we listen? We don't have that. Everybody's first. Nay. Yeah, this is the problem. No, you didn't do this. Oh, you're failing. You should study harder. And the father has forgotten that once upon a time he was like that child. And the same thing was happening from his father. Oh, you don't study hard enough. Now he's doing it again. Now he's a father. The mother has complaints. Bring the sabjis. When you come back home, bring the sabjis. Bring this, bring that. We don't have this, we don't have that. The man goes and he works, he comes home, and he has plenty to say, plenty to get mad about. And he is mad at his office, but he's not taking it out on his office, he's taking it out on his family, because he can.
Prem,
But this has become the practice.
Self is important because we have peace within us.
Yes.
But selflessness promotes peace.
No.
It does not.
No.
Then, is the society making us more selfish? We're not thinking of others, we're thinking of ourselves only?
The problem isn't selfishness. The problem is greed.
Nature is enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed.
People say, why do people go hungry? I say, and people say, how can you be talking about peace when there are people going hungry? So of course I have two answers. One is I created a foundation called the Prem Rawat Foundation, and they address this issue. We have food for people in Ranchi, we have food for people in Dhading, Nepal, which was the epicenter of the earthquake.
Yes, I've heard you, and
Yeah.
you have said that food, water, hygiene
Exactly.
are related to peace. How?
Well, they're related to person's well-being. Incredibly important. But then I also say to people, why are people hungry in this world? When, according to the United States Army Corps of Engineers, 50% of the food is wasted. The problem isn't hunger and the problem isn't food. Think about it. Food comes from the earth and it's free. Seeds cost money. Water costs money. Tractor costs money. Farmer's house costs money. The buffalo costs money. But once you have planted the seed, nature takes care of it, and out comes the plant. You don't have to go put 25 cents at every geun or wheat plant to say, okay, now grow. It comes free. Where's the problem? Why is the food being wasted? Greed. And what is the antidote for greed?
Tell our listeners, please.
Enjoyment. One thing a greedy person can never do is enjoy what he has. Just can't. Even the richest people in the world, more. They don't enjoy what they have. No, I need more. Every day, more.
So
Start
one
enjoying.
lesson our viewers and listeners will get, if you want to be peaceful, enjoy the present.
Enjoy the present, enjoy your life, enjoy this breath that you have, enjoy the possibilities that exist inside of you.
I heard one college student, after listening to you in India, he said he's not worried about future, and after listening to you, he said, I'm not bothered about that uncertainty of future. I am happy today. If the youth learns this, you feel that they can make the most of their life as well as be happy and peaceful. And please pass this message to millions of viewers and listeners today.
This is what I'm trying to do, and this is what I do. And since 4 years of age, this is what I've been going at. Because to me, it's very simple. Look at today. There's more universities today than there ever were.
True.
There's more schools today than there ever were. So you think after going through and having this education, learning about history, that wars truly can never be won, that there's consequences that pour on generation after generation. Hate is created in a war. And you look at Rome, mega empire to back to one place from where they started. And what happened? Because then those people that had been conquered reorganized, regrouped, and threw them out. And to me, after all this learning, all this education, all these resources, what are we doing? Killing each other. In the name of God, we've always done it. Look at history, we've always done it. In the name of land, we have always done it. In the name of political beliefs, we have always done it. So, what have we learned? What have we learned?
Conflict.
And so this is not allowing the education to be a solution. It is allowing the education to become a problem, and the youth, they want a future. You want a future. And you have been told the formula of forging your future. But when you get to the future, I am sorry, you're going to find a ladder to success. And when you find that ladder to success, you will be disappointed, because you will find 2 poles, but no rungs. People gone up that ladder have taken the rungs with them. People work really hard, get their degree, get to a foreign country, get a job. Finally, they're like, oh, this is what I worked for. 5 days later, a political decision is made, you're fired, get out. Where is the rung to success? You have to create a new ladder, my friends, in which there are rungs, and nobody is allowed to remove those rungs. This can only happen if you have the strength in you.
So there is no need to look for paths that other people have traversed. Make your own path.
Not anymore. Not anymore. That system worked till the 70s. When I was being interviewed in Spain about the different decades, so I just did some research. And one critical thing happened in the 70s. And that one critical thing, many things happened in the 70s, but one critical thing that happened is the concept of me, and me became prevalent. Before it was you and me, us. But then that was removed and it just became me.
So we have to invert the M and make it we.
We have to make it us. Us. And us globally. Every human being. Helping every human being. The first world countries are the biggest wasters of food. If they start helping, this trend can be reversed. You will at least have your basics. Listen, food is not a luxury. Food is a necessity. Without food, there is the rule of threes. 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air. I mean, you can, it's just a general rule, roundabout rule. Some people can make it more, some people can't. 3 weeks without food. Clean air is not a luxury. Without air, you will die. Clean water is not a luxury. Without clean water, you will die. Food is not a luxury. I mean, right now we have made it a luxury. It is your fundamental right to have clean air, clean water, clean food. And that's a fact. That's not fiction. That's not my imagination. And the basics has to be part of that package, where if people are truly going to integrate peace in their lives and understand themselves, they have to also understand their basic needs. The basic needs are not all of the stuff we get into. The basic needs, in fact, I was talking to a professor, and we started a dialogue in Japan. I started a dialogue with him quite a while ago, and he was one of the leading engineers at this camera factory. I won't mention the name, but it's a very, very famous camera. And he said that his dream was to make the best camera, because he realized when people got hold of a camera, it gave them some joy. They could take pictures of their family, of scenes, of vacations. And so he wanted to bring happiness to people. And he realized that when he made these cameras and he sold these cameras, people were happy, but then after a week, 2 weeks, they wanted a new one. So then he thought, I know, I will make robots. That will make people happy. So he started doing research in robotics. And then he realized that that's not going to make people happy either. So we started talking, because he had read my book, and there was another book that's called The Pot and the Hole. And he read that book, and immediately he was like, yes, this is the message people need to hear. So he came and he talked to me for quite a while. And out of that conversation, I came up with 4 things. What we need, first of all, is to know ourselves. And I'm writing a book on that. I'm writing 4 books. We need to know ourselves. We need to have gratitude in this life. We need to stop the noise between the ears, not outside the ears. That's easy. You can put cotton, you can put an earplug. But what kind of earplug do you use to stop the noise between your ears? And that's the noise that bothers you all night long. All day long. Keeps you restless. What do? Worry. When you first started going to school, what did you worry about? Homework. Then you got out of that, then you've got to take this exam, this exam, this exam, this exam.
And that's my next question.
And what did they do in Norway? What did they do in Norway? They said no scheduled classes. They said no scheduled classes. Come when you feel like, study. So the kids are playing all day long.
Nowadays we find even very, very young children in schools are anxiety ridden. Being a head learner in a school, I have experienced it. What message would you like to give it to their parents and to the children? How to not feel that anxiety, as you said, fear of exams or fear of an uncertain future or a career, or whether I'll be able to make enough money through this job that I may get because of this education, the parental pressure. And I think we have to address this issue about let the children enjoy their childhood and they'll make a future. It will happen on its own.
Norway was way down on the quality of education, way down. And now they're number one. How did that happen? They told the children, play as much as you want, just play. But come and study, only for a very short time. All of a sudden, the children started concentrating because that was it. That's all day long. They don't have to worry about it, and they just come and they started concentrating. Exam results shot up. There was a girl, this is just a joke. There was a girl. She went to the doctor and she said, "Doctor, I have a real problem." So what's your problem? He says, "Wherever I touch, it hurts. I touch my knee, it hurts. I touch my head, it hurts. I touch my eyes, it hurts. I touch my nose, it hurts. I have a problem." So, well, the doctor said, "I know what your problem is." So what? Your finger is broken. And because your finger is broken, wherever you touch, it hurts. It's not your nose hurting, it's not your knee hurting, it's your finger hurting.
So beautiful.
So-
So when you see pain through others, basically you are actually experiencing something that is broken within you, not in the other person.
Intelligence is the capacity in a human being to take the learnings, apply them, and not be afraid of a change.
Okay. What makes Prem Rawatji peaceful?
Knowing myself. Peace is a matter of practice. This is, I love this. This is one of my phrases, but I really am very proud of it, and I like it a lot. Practice peace, change your world. So let me get to what's really interesting here. It's not change your world, it's practice peace. What do you suppose that means? Practice peace? A doctor has a practice, right? A lawyer has a practice. What does that mean? It means that they're still learning. That's what practice means. They're practicing. So the lawyer is becoming better. Prem Rawat would like to practice peace, and Prem Rawat needs to practice peace every day, become better and better and better and better. The day Prem Rawat says, "I don't need to practice peace, I have as much peace as I want," that's the end of Prem Rawat's peace. He's not practicing peace anymore. He's out.
There is a Sanskrit shloka which says, "Sarve bhavantu sukhina," which means let everybody be happy and peaceful. A message. How can we attain this dream?
This is what we are looking for. So we say peace, 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 and we think there'll be peace. You have to go past that. You know, by saying food, 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 if you go to a restaurant, guy gives you a menu, and then he just starts going food, 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 food. Are you satisfied? No, you have to eat food. And that's the same thing. We don't convert that. We just say, oh, that's such a nice saying, that's wonderful. We go to a satsang somewhere. Oh, I heard some really nice things. And this is what I was saying just yesterday. The brain is up here, this ear hole is here, this ear hole is here. And sometimes what goes through here doesn't go to the brain, it just goes straight across. And we don't know how to convert these things. We know we should love our family, right? But we don't know how to convert that to love. Should we have peace? Of course we should have peace. But we don't know how to convert it to actually feeling peace in our lives. And that's why I say that the 4 things that I concentrate on is know yourself, and feel the gratitude, stop the noise between your ears, and even if you fail, never accept failure in your life. Fail and failure, separate it. Even if you fail, don't accept failure.
And we have to move from the narrow definition of love your family to Vasudev Kutumbakam, love the entire world, all the citizens of this world.
That's a really big challenge. Let's start with the family.
Yes. How can we remove conflicts in families? The families are not experiencing peace. Children see their parents having conflicts with each other, and they practice it in school. They practice conflicts in school rather than practicing peace in school.
But where is the love? If you're saying to me that the love is there in the family and that love is expressed every day and that love is felt by all family members every day and that's what is talked about every day, and they're still not experiencing harmony in the family, then I will say, I have an issue. But the thing is, that's not what's happening.
There's enough love in our hearts, all of us. Feel it.
More than enough. For the whole world. For everything. For everyone.
And it's so pertinent for us to understand this, that when we say peace, it is within you. Love, it is within you. Even if you don't, for a moment, get it from external sources, you have enough to be happy, peaceful.
Absolutely. And that's where you have to begin. This is where you have to begin. I mean, that, I would like to just say very briefly, there's a very beautiful saying from Kabir. And it goes, Pani mein meen pyasi, muhe sun sun aave hasi.
I think you'll have to translate it for our overseas listeners.
Be more than glad to do it. The fish is in the water and the fish is thirsty, and this makes me laugh.
Mean
Predicament.
fish.
Mean is fish. Pani mein meen pyasi, the fish is in the water and the fish is thirsty. And every time I hear this, that makes me laugh. All that water that can quench the fish's thirst is all around the fish, but the fish is still thirsty. That's our predicament. Without the self-knowledge, Atam Gyan, knowledge of the self, without the knowledge of the self, the human being is wandering the world, looking for something, doesn't know what it is, wandering the world like the musk deer, looking for the smell of the musk which resides right in its own navel, but he doesn't know it. Mrig nabi mein hai kasturi, ban ban phire udasi. And not only that he's searching for that smell, but he's very sad that he can't find it.
Yes, the overseas listeners, please search for musk deer and you will understand what Prem Rawatji is talking about.
When we talk about human necessities as hunger, food, shelter, so there are 3 things which we out of which we can only attain to, like affordability, universality and quality. In both of them, and even in medical care, we can only attain 2 out of these 3. How do we address this issue in a country like India?
Well, very, very good question. And the issue here is this. We only need to, as us in this world, we only need to provide opportunity. Right? We don't need to force money up anybody's, externals or whatever and say, you must have this. We only need to provide opportunity. And if we can do that, we can solve these problems. A little opportunity can grow to a big opportunity. No opportunity grows to nothing. And that's all that has to happen. People will correct their situation. It doesn't take that much land to grow food. Not all the growable surface of this earth actually has been exploited, and of that is already producing so much food that 50% is being wasted and still feeding. But our habits are bad. And a lot of those things have to change. If you just imagine how much wheat is grown, converted to bread, and then wasted. This is taking away people's opportunity. And that's all that has to be given. This is all the governments have to do, is provide opportunity.
Anyone else, please? Yes, ma'am.
I have noticed my patients coming to me, they would be like, oh, this is wrong, you must be doing it just for money. I have heard people actually telling this on my face. And recently I've noticed this change in myself. When I actually give some treatment, I was like, okay, fine, this is what you want. It's not what actually should be given, but this is what you expect me to do. I feel that I'm losing that thing, the desire to serve people is actually not, in the long run, I'll lose it, the thing. So I don't know what should I do to, prevent myself.
Yes, a very good question. First of all, we all have a doctor in us. And you as a doctor has to help this doctor heal the body. This doctor heals the body first. This doctor is there all the time, scanning for disease, scanning for what's wrong. And when this doctor is not taken care of, it cannot help. But it's true. It's because people put that expectation on you. Listen to them. They have their expectations. They want this for their book. Childbirth was natural. Because this means everything is normal. They don't realize that if the baby is breached, or say something's dramatically wrong and the umbilical cord is tied around, that the best thing, the safest thing for the mother and for the baby would be to have a cesarean. And if you just simply tell them, look, if you don't trust me or believe me, get another opinion. Because they'll only respect you for this. What is not taught at the medical school is how to interact with the people. This is a human trait that you have to learn. And you can only learn that by not playing doctor, but by playing human. When my doctor first went to the hospital, I went to see him. This was a few years ago. He's an old man. He ended up in the hospital. So I said to him, I said, Doc, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to go home. I want to go home. And how many people he has advised, no, you can't go home, stay a couple more days. I said, should I give you your own advice or should I have talk to your doctors and get you home. He goes, talk to them, get me home. I don't want to hear my own advice. Because we forget. Gurus forget to be human. There is no glory in being human. You want to be superhuman. And all the glory is when you are human, because that's who you are. This is why it's so important to know yourself. Be transparent. That's what another human wants you to be. You represent something more. You represent a hope. You represent a whole different dynamic. If you're in an airplane and the captain comes back and says, we got a problem, and then he goes back into the cockpit, how would that make you feel? You want him to tell you, talk to you, answer your question. What is the problem? Are we going to die? So we forget that, you know. There was a plane that nearly crashed. It was an A380 in Thailand. They finally got it stopped. I will tell you that captain, he was a senior captain who was flying. It happened to be, what a combination of pilots in that cockpit. It was senior training captain. It was the senior captain for Qantas. It was the senior line check pilot. It was everybody. He stops the airplane. One of the engines didn't stop. They had to use foam to stop the engine. There was fuel all over the ramp. You know what the captain says? Everybody told him, deploy the chutes. He goes, no, I'm not going to put my passengers through that fuel and muck that's lying there. Bring the trucks and bring the stairs. I want them to deplane and go right into the bus and be comfortable. Then there are pilots who will have their passengers sit for 4 hours in a hot airplane and not say a word. Talk. This is our problem. We don't talk. We argue. And as human beings, nobody likes to argue.
Prem Rawatji, I wish I had flown with you when you were flying a plane. This young girl has a question.
Yes.
So I would like to ask that, do you have any favorite stories from your book, Splitting the Arrow?
Actually, there's one story I have, which is probably not even in the book, because that book has so many versions of it. The same book, Splitting the Arrow, in Spain was introduced as When the Desert Blooms.
Oh.
Because there's a whole part of it, When the Desert Blooms, in that book. But it's about this little boy comes to the chief. He's an American Indian. He comes to the chief and he goes, Chief, I have a question. He goes, what? He says, Chief, why is it that some people are good some of the time and the same people who are good at some of the time are bad the other times? Same people. So sometimes they're good. It's not like some people are good and some people are bad. No. Some people are good, and then the same people who are good are bad at the other times. Now the chief looks at him and he goes, because in you, you have two wolves. A good wolf and a bad wolf, and they fight. The little boy thinks about it and he goes, so chief, which wolf wins?
The one you support.
The one you feed. The one you feed, because that is the wolf that's going to get strong. Some people will argue, don't feed the bad wolf, right? But that's not going to help the good wolf, because the wolf you feed. You have to feed the good wolf for him to be strong. So again, which wolf do you feed? Good one, not the bad one, the noise between the ears. things are going wrong, things are going bad, oh my God, I didn't succeed, oh no, I might fail. People get so nervous. They go to take an exam and they get nervous. They get nervous. Well, either you know or you don't know. There's nothing to get nervous about. I've taken so many exams. I have so many type ratings. And for each type rating, I had to take an exam, an exam, an exam, an exam. I came to India and I had to take an exam so I could fly in India with the helicopter. And I'm taking the exam, and I come across 2 questions, and I just wrote, these are wrong questions. And then the examiner looked at them and said, you are right, they're both wrong questions. That cannot be. I got 100. So my question is, instead of making it a habit of worrying, make the habit of knowing. When I gave my first test for my private pilots, I was so nervous. When the result came back, I was so nervous, so nervous. I went in my office, took the envelope, and I was literally shaking. And I opened the envelope, and I had gotten 97. And I was like, it's great. From then on, I have made it a habit of not to be nervous, but walk in with confidence. These are the little changes that you can start making in your life. And when you do, you will surpass. That's the courage that you need to create your own ladder to success. If you can't find one, have the courage to make your own. Make it as tall as you want, and fasten the rungs as hard as you want. And not only that, have the courage to tell other ones, come this way. Then we can change.
What I have experienced, that it comes across in a very simple formula, whether it's a problem of terrorism or a problem of too much or too less, it's all within us.
Absolutely.
And I noticed this audience feeling elated that they have the solutions in them together.
You've always had this.
Would you like to ask a question too?
So I've been listening and reading about you since long, and so you've been talking about inner world. So can you please elaborate on what is like inner world message?
Yes, yes, yes. The inner world is where generosity resides, not greed. Inner world is where the divine resides, not the ignorance. Inner world is where the beauty is, not the ugliness. Inner world is where joy is, not sadness. And the only way to, you see, you have to understand one thing. How do you get rid of darkness? That's a trick question. Because you can't. You can't get rid of darkness. You cannot manipulate darkness.
You light.
That's all you can do. To remove darkness, you cannot actually remove darkness. Bring in the light and the darkness will go away. So all these negatives in our life, sadness, you cannot actually remove sadness. It's like a darkness. You can't remove sadness, but if you bring the joy, the sadness will be gone.
So there's nothing like darkness, there's nothing like sadness, it's the absence of light or absence of happiness or joyness.
Absolutely. It's the other side of the coin. And that's what you have to remember, that when you are sad, joy is not far away.
Because you have sent joy away, that is why you're sad.
You didn't do anything to bring the joy, that's why sadness has come.
I think this young girl is eager to ask her question.
You've been visiting prisons regularly to help people there find their peace. It's like, can you elaborate your experiences there, like what you felt and everything?
Prisons is a funny thing. in America, they have a rule, 3 strikes, you're out, which is the same rule that's applied in baseball. Are they playing baseball with people's lives? 3 crimes and you're in for life. So if the person has done 2 crimes, he will automatically do the 3rd. When he sees the police coming, he will run, and he's just committed the 3rd crime, and he's in for life. There are hardened criminals who maybe belong away from the society. There are, let me just give you a little bit of an elaborate answer to this. One thing is traditions. Okay? Now traditions will change. They'll change from generation to generations. Like long time ago, when you saw your, respected adult, you did full pranam. Long time ago. They've adapted the Western. When it used to be namaskar, it's like hi. It means the same thing. So traditions are meant to change. They change from generation to generation. Then you have culture. And culture is whoever is following that culture accepts those things as norms. So culture actually comes from agriculture. It is much more about the basics and the pecking order of the basics, even though we celebrate Diwali, but that's a very, very close festival to the springtime, and was probably even celebrated before Krishna, because it was the farmers celebrating, and it's celebrated in some format throughout the world. So and everybody likes to celebrate Diwali. There's particular occasions in culture where you have the sweets, and you do this and you do that. So culture is acceptable to everyone. Then we have society. Society, think of it, comes from cities. This is where we have to learn how to live with each other. And in the societies, we create rules. But you know the funny thing about rules? Is we think it applies to you, but not to me. So whatever the circumstances is, people make the mistake. Again, they don't understand their potential, and they don't understand who they are. They make mistakes repeatedly, end up in prison. Why do I go to prisons? Because I am not going there to entertain them. But I know that they have to come out and be part of the society. And if they keep returning, do you know how much money is spent per inmate in America? $65,000 per inmate. That is more than the salary of a teacher. And I can assure you that if somebody was to give this person $65,000 just 1 year, he probably won't commit the crime. But we live in a very tunneled society. So I go there to help them understand the hope in them, put them in touch with them. And I've had incredible success, because this program, it's called the Peace Education Program, gained its reputation by a letter that was sent from the University of Texas, San Antonio, saying we want to know about this program, Peace Education Program. We have been following it. There's a section, a division in the university that follows all the programs that happen in the prison. and they look at the success rate, and they said, your program, the peace education program, has the lowest rate of return. So the inmates who are freed, they don't come back. Exception being in Greece, where this inmate had half finished the peace education program. His release date came, he was released, he came back to the warden, he says, can I finish the program?
Have you found out a viable, all acceptable, universal definition of peace?
Yes, I have a very profound answer for it. Once upon a time, an ambassador came to the king's court and said, Sire, I have the most wonderful fruit, the king of fruits for you, the mango. And the king said, what is a mango? Tell me what a mango is. And the ambassador said, oh, it's the most amazing fruit, it's fragrant, it's sweet, it's sour, it's just the best. The king said, I still don't understand it. So he had a courtier taste the mango, and he said, oh, sir, he's right, it is magnificent, it is this, this, this. Finally, it went from one courtier to other courtier to other courtier to other courtier, everybody trying to describe the mango. And the king says, I still don't understand, I still don't understand. It came to the last one. He took the mango, he cut it, put it on a plate, and he gave it to the king. He said, here, taste it. That's exactly what peace is something you feel, not the words. Words will never be able to describe what peace is. The words cannot explain love. Love cannot words cannot explain pain. We don't understand their shortcoming. We think we can write amazing stuff with it. We can. But, that's the dilemma of the doctors. So where's your pain? Oh, it's here. What kind of pain are you having? Oh, it's like this kind of pain, this kind. Can't describe. Love is the same thing, speechless. And so is peace. Peace needs to be felt. To go inside and feel it. And that's what I help people with. The process of going inside and feeling the peace.
So we are the question and we are the answer.
Always. Always. We want to know. We want to know because we are curious. And we only get to know when curiosity stops.
I thought I was in Kurukshetra listening to Krishna give his discourse
Things
to
are
all
not
the
that
Arjunas
desperate.
sitting here.
You start to understand your strengths. See, right now you know your weakness. You forget. But there's certain things you don't forget. Do you love somebody in your life? Do you forget him? Why?
Because that
Love.
person never went out of our memory or soul.
The love. And if there is somebody in your life that is not there anymore, but that love will still keep them alive in you. Love is your power. Forgetfulness is your weakness. Weakness is on the outside. Power is on the inside. Know thyself. That's what Socrates said. Know thyself. Because when you start to know yourself, you start to understand your power. And one of your greatest power is consciousness, not unconsciousness. You will forget on the count of unconsciousness, but you will remember on the count of consciousness. Thank you.